Okay, all right,
And go.
I'll go. Okay, Philip, we invited you on the program. I got sent a guest post by either yourself or your publisher. I'm not sure which. It doesn't really matter because you obviously wrote it about slimming and dieting and how it has a tendency. Well, we know by now that it doesn't just have a tendency to not work. It doesn't work very well because of the way we're wired up, and that intrigued me because it's not something that I'd been sent before. So for that reason, I did a little bit of digging and looking into your background and the way you. I was talking to Olivier before. I watched one of your YouTube speeches on the way basically shopping on human psychology with shopping, etc. And I'm sounding a bit vague because that took me a little bit by surprise because after reading the post, which obviously I liked, otherwise I wouldn't have contacted you. Then when I did a little bit more digging, there's a lot more beneath the surface. So do you want to briefly explain who you are, what you do, etc.? Not who you are, but what you do.
Yeah, no problem. I've been studying shopper psychology and shopping behaviour for about 30 years now, using psychology and behavioural techniques, in essence, to influence what people buy. My professional career I've been paid by the big retailers and big brands. So if you go into a store and you've got a choice of 120 different coffees, which is ridiculous, but there you go. My job has been to understand how to psychologically and behaviorally have you connect with one brand over and above another. That's where I started from. Okay. And I've done that for about 30 years. In the course of my work, obviously, I've learned a lot about human psychology and what makes people want different foods, different drinks. And only recently have I started to turn it around and think, well, if we can get people to change towards something, surely we can get them to move away from it. And that, in essence, is what we've been doing. Okay.
So a question for that is, I'm going to use a very strange analogy now. Let's suppose you're an athlete and you use steroids and you get an advantage on everybody else because you're using steroids, but then the other people start using steroids and everybody uses steroids and suddenly that advantage is lost. So I'm presuming, and I looked at the list of companies that you've worked for and some of them are huge, some of them are multinational and mainly national brands that I won't bring up now because most of the people that listen to this are in the US. Now, what stops, say you work for Tesco's, for example, and Tesco's, for anybody listening to the in the US, is probably equivalent to somewhere like Target. Target would be a great example for Tesco's. What stops somebody then hiring another person for Walmart, who are the English version of just below Aldi, I would say. So what stops them hiring that and doing exactly the same thing? In other words, like with the steroids, like leveling the playing field and nobody gets an advantage.
I'm going to give two answers, and they're both, in my humble opinion, brutally honest. Firstly, there aren't many of us about. That's the easy answer. So if you look in the big universities where they teach psychology, they tend to send people down a much more clinical psychology route. Either that or they go to some specific motivational field. Having somebody study psychology for 20 years on people buying groceries from Target or Kroger or somewhere is a very different thing. So frankly, there aren't many of us doing it. The easier answer is even more mind-blowing, is that most of the bosses of these big retailers and brands don't realize that shoppers have psychology. It's all based on sales figures. It is a ridiculous situation at the moment.
So if that's the case, why do? And I've actually noticed this less in the US. So this is making me think now. Why, if you go in the UK in a Sainsbury's or a Tesco's or I'm forgetting now because I've not lived there for 11 years, or whatever. the layout is the same. Everybody's known for ages. All the fresh produce goes out the outside, and all the stuff that's going to kill you inside 3 minutes if you eat too much of it is on the inside aisles, etc., etc. And then you put the stuff by the checkout that's like impulse buys, like sweets or candy or so on, and drinks, etc. So what's changed about that over the last 20 or 30 years?
Retail in the UK and the US is cyclical. It's, I believe, a 20-year cycle. So at one end of the cycle, the psychologists run retail. So they're the people in the 1980s, 1990s who were changing the lights in different aisles, changing the width of the aisles so you'd walk fast past the cheap stuff and slow down past the expensive stuff. That was all going on. And then the other end of the same scale, the 20-year scale, is the accountants. The accountants deal purely on the next 6 weeks ROI, return on investment. Mm-hmm. So it is not on their radar to influence shoppers in any way. They just think the more special offers they have, the more profit they give away, the more sales they'll have. And they're all geared at the moment to just sell volume. They don't care about profit and value, believe it or not. It's all about volume.
Mm-hmm. So today what you're saying is this is the cycle right now is about sales, right?
Yes.
This is what everyone, yeah. But at the same time, I still believe that you have this kind of, I don't know exactly what Tim mentioned about the colors, about, you don't put, I don't know, a skull on a baby food just to make it cool, because that obviously the mom wouldn't buy this. I don't know. But is it obviously you still have in the marketing department, they put this kind of best practices, I guess, in order to attract, yeah.
Where we are now is all the one word is clever, another is manipulative stuff that happened in the 80s and 90s. As psychologists learned stuff, this stuff got deployed in stores. So, for example, if you put a picture of a baby's face in a certain part of the store, then pretty much every woman walking past will look at that face. They're hardwired to look after babies and look at their faces. So we can attract people's attentions that way. What's happened now is there's again run by the accountants, it's everything costs money. So if you said to an accountant, I'm going to put a picture of somebody's eyes on the candy shelves in the supermarket and that'll reduce theft, they tell you where to go because they just can't understand the psychology of the fact you're being looked at makes you more self-conscious, so you do steal less. I've got evidence for that.
Isn't that work by Dan Ariely?
Partly his stuff, yeah. There's an awful lot of people. The specific one that I'm referring to happened in a UK university where they put a big picture of somebody's face looking down above the bike sheds in Newcastle University.
Oh, okay.
The net was that thefts of bikes almost stopped dead overnight. They took away the image and the theft came back again. And we've since done the same in the confectionery aisle.
What was the image Margaret Thatcher? Sorry. I just had to get a political joke in there.
So tell us, Philip, how does it work really? What do you do? Precisely. If I hire you, let's say that we are just brand new retailers, me and Tim, and we want to sell. What do we sell, by the way, Tim?
Onions.
Because of French.
Yeah.
There are 101 things we could do to sell more onions, but let's keep it simple at the moment. Let's start at the beginning. So it's fair to say that shoppers, consumers, have got lots of choices of the sorts of onions they can buy and where they buy their onions from. Now, the fact of the matter is, in the 21st century, we've got more choice than we can cope with. So our brains start immediately taking shortcuts. So if we have in our store 10 brands of onions, for example, if I put 3 of those brands on special offer, I'll draw your attention to them, and chances are sales will go up, even though you may not, believe it or not, calculate the offer. So we've done experiments where we've had products, we've put the price up, but we've put a special offer ticket next to it, and we've sold more product. We had another example where we had buy one, get one free, which I'm sure is an offer you're all familiar with, on tins of baked beans. I mean, that couldn't be more simple a product than that. And 41% of the shoppers left with one tin. Yet the second would have been free. We've put a yellow frame around a certain product and raised its share of sales by more than 150% because the colour yellow was a promotional colour. People see the color yellow. It's a shortcut. They think it must be added value. They'll buy it. They don't actually work out what the added value might be. That's what we do as humans.
So I've got a question. So the biggest supermarket in my area and in the east of the US, I think is Publix. It's called Publix, and they do things like put yellow tickets on stuff and say they don't put special offer. I'm trying to think how they word it now. It's something like special price.
Yeah.
And I immediately think you're trying to manipulate me and walk past it. Now I understand, and have done a lot of work on heuristics and cognitive biases. And I even wrote a book that involved a typical exploit of somebody going shopping and how they get convinced and manipulated by shoppers. Do you have any doubts about what it is you do that? There's because you said that you said before, well, that there was the 1980s, then there was the people that were trying to manipulate. But isn't everything we're talking about trying to manipulate people to buy more product? And you're saying, well, they don't even do the math. They don't even work out that they're actually saving money. I mean, in the US very recently, Macy's are a massive superstore, JC Penney's are a massive superstore, and there was another one who I forget now, all got taken to court by doing exactly what you were saying, by putting prices above the manufacturer's recommended retail price and then having a sale and then lowering them down to the normal manufacturer's recommended. Now to me, that element of it is it's almost beyond manipulation. I'd just like to get your thoughts on that.
Okay, let's step back a bit. I believe any form of marketing is manipulation. There's an old phrase that says merchandising, that's retail display, is manipulation with integrity. So yes, this is manipulation, but there is good manipulation and bad manipulation. Oh, you mentioned J.C. Penney. About 3 years ago, they took away all the special offers. They decided to say to their shoppers, we're going to be totally fair. We're going to just give you EDLP, everyday low prices. So you can't go wrong. Come here, the prices are good. Their sales dropped off a cliff and they nearly went out of business because shoppers actually want to feel they're finding these bargains. It's hunter-gathering days again. If you've got your 120 coffers, you could hunt out the one that you think is better value. It changes your emotional state. But I take your point. Yes, it's manipulation. But then if you turn it round, we have now, rightly or wrongly, analysed people buying alcohol and tobacco in 17 countries. And not with a view to getting people to drink or smoke. This is to understand how they do it and what makes them buy it. We took our data to the leading government-run British Research Society in the UK and said, look, we have real valuable data on we can influence cigarette shoppers on what they do. That means we can reduce the amount of cigarettes they buy. All we want to do is talk to you about how this can maybe be funded and we can save the UK a lot of money and a lot of health. They basically said, go away, you're not a university, we're not interested. So somebody's got to pay the ferryman. And when you've got governments being so dumb, not being political, that they can't see what's in front of their face.
No, please be political. That's fine. This is Raw Voices podcast. We love political. Yeah.
Well, it is just thick. They are paying, I think, in the UK, £1,200 for any one person to give up smoking. There's a grant somewhere you can get if you are.
$1,800, by the way, just for anybody listening to the UK in the US. Sorry. Okay, please carry on.
But we went in there with analysis on 30,000 shoppers, and most people who smoke have to buy their tobacco and their cigarettes. We know the answers to changing the retail journey to reduce smoking, but they just said, sod off. Excuse me.
So what's the answer? Sorry, okay. Do we need to pay you in order to tell us? What's the answer actually? How can we reduce this?
I mean. Yeah. Okay, to give the smoking example, if you break down I'm going to call it the customer journey. It's the person's journey through the day. Nearly everybody who goes to buy cigarettes has an immediate need for one cigarette, one kick of nicotine at that time. So if you can do something in the time when they get their as you said, Tim, the heuristic, the visual heuristic to remind them about tobacco, be it stress, be it a branded sign or whatever, we can move them 5 minutes down the road and they'll forget for 20 minutes. All you do is build up these movements away from the purchasing channel opportunities and you reduce their smoking. It's nudge. It's good old-fashioned nudge, which is something I don't like, but it's very effective.
Right. Yeah. No, I've read the book and I know what you're talking about. I know it's not quite the same, but it's that to me is really interesting, and it's also really sad. It's sad that you've got the opportunity to make money for business and they'll pay for it. There's no money to be made from big business in stopping people smoking. There's only money to be made for the national health. And that saddens me because I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Kelly Mcgonigal. She's a psychologist at I think she's at Berkeley University. She's a PhD, and she wrote a book about, and I think it was the power or the willpower instinct. I think the book was called. Just a fantastic book. And she said, the warnings that we put on cigarette packets now actually don't work, because what they do is they actually stress people. And what people do when they're stressed, if they're smokers, is they want to have a cigarette. So they smoke and they actually have a detrimental effect. And they've tried to do that. And just like I mentioned Dan Ariely before, he's gone to the insurance companies and said, look, we can reduce your claims by just getting people to sign at the top before they fill in the form, and at the bottom after they filled in the form, because then they feel more invested in it, and you will reduce. And they basically told him to go away. And it's kind of frightening. We had a conversation, myself and Olivier, before you came on, and I was like, I'm not comfortable with just talking about how we manipulate people to buy things. But when you explain it, when you go and you try to do the opposite, and you get your nose thumbed at you by the government, or they're not interested because they don't want to put the money in it, then it's kind of like, well, what do you expect? People are going to use this information, and they're either going to use it for good, and you've got the opportunity to do that, and you don't want to do that, or they're going to use it for bad. It's like, history is littered with poor campaigns of how not to use social psychology to stop, right the way back to, I don't know if you remember in the 80s, the old AIDS campaigns, where they had the tombstones, and it actually increased the occurrence of AIDS, and right the way through to now. So I'm really intrigued by that. So obviously the money is in retail. What would I do? You have any boundaries where you say, we know there's certain things that damage people's health. Let's leave aside the obvious things of alcohol, because both myself and Olivier are drinking, because it's a podcast and we always have a beer on a podcast. Let's leave it aside. You've got your water now, your Evian, which does spell naive backwards, by the way. So
and that's me, yeah. And I'm an expert.
Go and fill it from the tap. There are things in the food industry, high fructose corn syrup being one of them, and that we know are harmful to people. Can you, or do you have the ability to look at a product and say, what, I'm not gonna push. What was there was this. I'll probably get sued, but I'm in America, so they'll have to come and find me. That Sunny D drink, I don't know if you remember it, and it's a UK drink. Yeah, and it was basically high fructose corn syrup with a splash of orange juice in it, that was making kids obese, etc. Do you ever think, what, I don't really want to help promote this product?
Yeah, I won't promote cigarettes, but you're not allowed to in a lot of countries now. The other one I won't promote is chewing gum. Not because it's
that's
bad.
Interesting. Why is that then?
Because I just think, let's be contentious. I just think there should be a law against the amount of mess people make spitting onto the sidewalks. It's ridiculous.
Awesome.
So we've been approached by gum companies and say, no, I'm not doing it. No. Yeah, but it's a difficult one because these huge companies are doing sort of, they can do what they like, and I believe nowadays that the companies are bigger than governments. So you've only got to look at the big online companies. So we recently here in the UK had some big rows about big companies not paying tax, and the government went after these big companies to pay the tax and did this deal with one of the big companies, and then they found out it was a fraction of what they owed. But the company needn't have paid anything. They're bigger than the UK government. They can do what the hell they like. So yeah, but I do have some boundaries, probably not enough. But
what do you mean by that? Probably not enough.
Probably not enough because I have worked for confectionery companies, and where do you draw the line? I'm not one of these. I'm one of the people that moved the confectionery away from the checkout to stop the pester power, as they call it. But then you see other things where the kids are being sent by the parents to the main aisle to get themselves a sweet reward for being good while they've been to the supermarket. And what do these kids do when they go to the main aisle on their own? They get the bigger bag. So giving them a small sweet at the checkout was actually better. It's for every action there's a reaction. And yeah, some of the things we think, can't let the kids have sweets. You're not going to stop kids having sweets. They'll find them. Look at all the soft drink stuff going on at the moment with taxes and this, that, and the other on that. I don't know how you stop it. We'd end up on probably bread and water.
Maybe it's better. And beer.
Yeah, not bread. We're paleo, so it will be water and water. So we can't have grains. Yeah.
But that's interesting, Philip, because exactly what it sounds like. Okay, there's something going on. You say, okay, there's nothing that we can do, right? There's nothing that we can do. But can we raise awareness? Maybe can we raise awareness and to say, because when I listen to you, it seems like the shoppers are just almost zombies. They are unconscious and they are just picking because they see a flashy thing. They say, "Oh, I will take this one." So can we raise this awareness to say, okay, look, you need to be a little bit more aware of what's going on here? Yeah,
absolutely. I have stood up and done talks to consumer groups and manufacturer groups. I've done odds and things on the TV, which that may be what you see on YouTube. And if you want my honest opinion, most of the fact that we're getting obese, we're eating the wrong stuff, we're drinking the wrong stuff, is our fault. It's not the fault of these. Everybody likes to blame these big evil brands and retailers because we go into the supermarket and is that a Red Bull energy drink type thing?
No, it's actually a Michelob Ultra. It's only got 90 calories. It's much more healthy than Red Bull. Everybody knows. First time I ever had Red Bull, nobody told me you couldn't sleep on it. It was full of caffeine. I had 5 of the damn things in one night with vodka in it and couldn't sleep for about 2 days. So anyway, but that's another matter altogether.
Okay, don't push him right in this direction. He gained some weight and all these kind of things. So okay. Go on, Philip.
Yes, but it's our fault. If we're going to the supermarket, we leave our brains in the car. We just go in this thing. They give you a great big wheeled bucket to put things in, which we drag it around, throwing stuff in with gay abandon. And we measure. One of the things we measure is the physiological way people buy products. It's like we call it a mode. So there's inexperienced shopping where you read the packet. There's impulse shopping where you grab the candy bar, and 60% of food shopping is what we call grab and go. The grab and go isn't shopping, it's replenishment. You just see it, you don't think, you just grab it and in the basket it goes. We've done more experiments than you can shake a stick at. That if you make people engage as they shop, they can save 20, 30, 40% of the money, let alone the health benefits. But we don't. We just troll around these supermarkets like zombies, but not. And a lot of it is, we have... The psychologists are learning so much more all the time now about how the brain works. And governments, retailers, brands are so far behind this learning that, the fleet of foot are learning faster than the big companies can turn their oil tankers around and follow it. And so we just don't. We just go around the store. We've got this little brain at the front, which is the neocortex, which I'm sure you know, tries to, the difference between us and animals. Well, the latest research is the only difference in us and animals is we can come up with an excuse why we just did something stupid. We still do the stupid thing, but we can think of an excuse why we did it. So but that's the brain that we like to think is in control of our lives, but it's not. It's the big one, the fight, flight, and find a mate one. That's the one that's driving the decisions. So if I can appeal to that brain in the supermarket, that's what'll sell. You can show me the small healthy chocolate bar or the big gluttonous one. When I've been shopping for 40 minutes and I want a sugar low and I see the same products for $2 each, I'm having the big one. It takes an awful lot of willpower to say, I'm going to be good and have the small one. Shoppers don't think like that.
Shit, I'm depressed now.
Yeah.
Shit, Philip, you need to tell something good. Like, okay, there's hope, and there's we can do something about it.
Can I just ask a question? Because following on from that, because obviously, as I said before, governments don't want to know what you want to know because there's no immediate, government's working. Doesn't matter whether you've just been voted in and you've got 5 years like Cameron did last year or whatever, or earlier this year. Governments are working on short-term improvements so that they're going to look good. So they don't care if there's going to be a payoff in 20 years' time for the most part. No. So they're not going to help you. There isn't the money in local enterprise or health groups to even remotely compete with some of the companies that we're talking about that you're saying that are so huge. I mean, I can remember when Asda, Walmart bought Asda, and for anybody listening, Asda at the time, I think was the second or third biggest supermarket chain in the UK. And it was said that Walmart could have bought Asda with the petty cash that they took that day. That's how much money that Walmart make. And so you can't go head to head with these companies. So you kind of either run with them or you're an outcast. So the point is there any hope for the consumer?
Okay, going back to what Olivier said, feeling depressed. Yes, because the wonderful situation we're in now is this brain science is becoming accessible to everybody, and a few of us are learning how stupid we've been, how stupid we are, if you want to say. And as soon as you know that, you can make huge, simple changes. You can stick with what I know at the moment, the supermarket. You can go into the supermarket only with cash. That'll save you money. You won't hide it on the credit card. You can pay attention. You can treat the weekly, monthly shop round Kroger as a job and save yourself $40 or $50 in 40 or 50 minutes. But most people don't even realize this stuff. And to be cynical, I'm not sure governments want people to realize they've got their own mind, because that goes against everything governments have been doing since the year dot.
Philip, we need to start a revolution right now. We need a leader right now. We need to change these things. We need to wake up people.
Somebody does, but they like to keep us in our boxes. And you've summed it up nicely. You have skills, I have skills. There is nobody prepared to say, I see the value of those skills. I'll give you some money for them to keep you so you can feed your family. They just say, no, go away. You're not the right sort of person for us. So, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I'm more depressed than Olivier now.
Open a second beer, man.
I would if I got one, but I haven't got one. So I'm going to have that not quite a good beer buzz. You know what I mean? That feeling where you're not quite there to feel good about it. But no, that is fucking depressing. No, sorry.
It is and it isn't. It is depressing knowing that we're all going on like sheep, for want of a better word, following the rest, jumping off the cliff, and we've got these few shepherds that are usually in Washington or Downing Street telling us which way to go. And the worst thing of all is they don't know which way to go. So we're actually being led in the wrong direction. So we've got a thing at the moment, happened this week, that we have now got a sugar tax. I don't know if you've heard about it. So in soda, like including that when you mentioned that kept you up for 5 days, whatever it was, you buy a can of that, you're going to pay 25p, so 40 cents tax on top of the normal price. That they reckon that's going to make us have a healthy country, and we're going to have healthy kids, and the government's going to make lots of money to repair the roads and do the hospitals. They've already done this in Finland, and sales of sugar drinks dropped 1% when they introduced the sugar tax. It didn't work, but they can't think of anything else. They're going to do it anyway.
Okay.
Wow. So, was that after Jeremy Paxman? Did you see that famous, sorry, Olivier, did you see that famous interview with Jeremy Paxman where he was with the one of the senior vice executives of Coca-Cola for the UK, and he pulled out a big empty cup of Coca-Cola that you could buy at the cinema. And he said, "Do you know how much sugar there is in this?" And it was the big one, the large one that they tried to upsell. And there was 47 sachets of sugar in that one. And the Coca-Cola guy went white, and it was like, because he obviously didn't know, and he stammered a lot, and it was just shocking. I mean, Jeremy Paxman, to anybody who's not American, go and look him up. Is a hardball political interviewer, but that's interesting. So we're talking about human behaviour.
There's worse things. There's worse. I take your point about the soda, and they're trying to address it. There's so many worse places where they put sugar, or they put sugar. All the things about aspartame that they replace sugar with because it's lower calories or less sugar naturally. But apparently that's bad for us in other ways.
Yeah.
But I get more cross to be honest, more angry with the hidden sugars. I'll point my finger at ready meals. Do you have ready meals? These TV dinners.
No. Shoves his ready meal for lunch to one side. Yeah. No, we'd never eat a ready meal. No.
People for the most part, except the young kids, know that soda's full of sugar. So you drink it in moderation. Now we're not sure whether orange juice is good for us or bad for us because it's full of sugar. Ready meals, we don't think there's sugar in there. Then we find there is, and there's salt. And to go back to my world, we know that I think it's 70% of adults wear corrective eyewear, glasses or contact lenses. I think it's about 11% are contact lenses. So you've got about 60% of people wearing glasses. When we're measuring shoppers behaving in the stores, one of the metrics we look at is how many have got their glasses on. It's about 25%. Within supermarkets, an awful lot of the customers can't read. Yet they got this information on how much salt, how much sugar. They can't read it. Is that the supermarket's fault, or is it the dumb shopper for not having the glasses on? Sorry.
No.
Jesus Christ.
That's a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, the one thing that's happened over the last 20, 30 years, or maybe, I'm not sure, you'll know more exactly, is the fact that the ingredients are in there. But it's a little bit like, people become, there's an expression with advertising blind, where people see an advert so many times they become blind to it and they don't notice it. And I think, oh, hang on.
Okay.
Olivier's going, okay. That means he's got
I'm still young, I still have hope, I want to save the world no, not the world. I want to save people, right? So you say, dumb shopper, and maybe this is basically they have this zombie mentality.
I'm going to get another beer, by the way.
Yeah, okay, we'll grab a beer because you'll hang up yourself after. But so let's say you have a dumb shoppers that don't read, don't do that. What would be the opposite? What wise or smart shopper should do?
Okay.
What should they do?
We can do that. So, I mean, I could give you a list of things as long as your arm about not being a dumb shopper. So we'll just give you some examples. Okay. The first and easiest is the bigger the price ticket doesn't mean the bigger the saving.
Okay.
So everybody should stop looking at it's $3, it's $5, it was $9, now it's $7. Look at how much it is per 100 grams, per ounce, per gallon, per pint, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's your direct comparison. The other thing is, certainly in the UK at the moment, there's so many special offers in retail that you pass a different special offer every half a second. Your brain can't do the sums. I think in the UK, the average salary is £12 an hour, so $18 an hour, something like that. That's the average salary. The average big shop takes about 40 minutes. If you treat it as a job or work, not in a trance on a Saturday, you will save more than going to work to do it. But we don't. And to be honest, nowadays, and I was in Detroit only a few weeks ago looking at their supermarkets, it's ever easier to go in there and treat it like a job or work because supermarkets are deathly boring at the moment. They're not trying the manipulation. They're just trying the accountancy stuff, more and more special offers, save money here. And so one is look at the pence per gram. That's not the price. That's what it actually costs. Then, as we always say, think twice. Just think twice. It's not difficult. So before you grab the big 200-gram jar of coffee that you always grab, is the 300-gram one cheaper or 200 grams cheaper? Just think twice. It's not a great. And then if you're stood in front of a 2-meter high fixture that's 2 meters wide and it's got 120 coffees on it, just spend a few seconds looking around it, not just heading for your preferred one, because you might find some bargains you didn't know were there. It's there. Believe it or not, these big supermarkets don't make a lot of profit in percentage terms because they have to be so competitive. But we don't look for the bargains.
Well, I must admit, one of the things I'm not. I wouldn't say I was a very aware shopper, but if I see anything that I buy regularly that's on a buy one get one free or whatever, I always buy it, even if I need it or not at that point in time, simply because I know I'm going to use it. Other than that, I do tend to, be the person that reaches for, actually, I'm not. I'm the person that reaches for the cheapest. My wife's the person that reaches for the stuff.
So you're a shopper, man. You're a zombie.
No, I'm not. No, I go for the cheapest. My wife's she comes back. Oh, why have you got this crap, for crying out loud?
That's men. That's a nationwide. That's a global thing. Men buy stupid stuff. It's the law.
Okay, can you go with that? Can you explain more?
I love it.
I mean, the women they have a wider peripheral vision. They are used to the tend and befriend, looking after the group, all this sort of stuff. We're out there hunting, throwing out sticks.
Hang on. Sorry. No. Is that why my wife always cooks about 4 times more fucking food than we need when we have people round for guests? And I always say to her, we're not going to need all this food. It doesn't matter. Does it? Is that the reason? Can I tell her? It's you've been tended and befriended. Now stop it.
And I could be very sexist to say there's something about spatial awareness in there as well. I'm not sure how big it's going to end up. So that's another story.
Yeah, that is another story. I could make a joke there for sure.
No, don't.
About spatial awareness.
No, you were saying, Philip.
Okay, where were we going with that? I can't remember now. What were we saying? Sorry,
it was why men are dumb at shopping. Our dumber than
Yeah. I mean, we talk about impulse shopping, spur of the moment. Men are less mentally engaged. I mean, they when women, 2 stereotypical shopping journeys here. Woman buying a pair of shoes, she'll try a pair on, try another 10 pairs on in 10 more shops, and go back and buy the first
pair. Yeah,
but they've explored the full range and bought what they believe to be the best for their needs. That happened to be the first. Men, if you can get men to try a pair on, if they fit, buy them.
Yeah. That's so true. My wife says, well, what about all the others? I'm like, well, I like these. Yeah, but she says, you may want to... Well, no, I fucking like these. I want these. Let me just buy them. And last time we went, I said, in fact, I like them so much, I want to buy 2 pairs so that when they wear out, I'm not going to buy them. I can't get them again. And she wouldn't let me. She says, no, you can't do that. And it was a pair of just diesel trains.
Okay, let the expert speak now.
I'm getting excited. Yeah.
Sorry. That sums it up. So the woman will, walk along in orderly fashion, looking at what she needs for, the family and shopping in a sort of more orderly manner. We're charging through like some sort of hunter with a net and a stick, grabbing anything, and we'll see something we've never heard of. But let's say it's got a picture of a pretty woman on the front. We'll have one of those. And you only have to spend less than 10 minutes looking at the line of checkouts in a supermarket, UK or US, and wait for the rows to start. Because the woman will see the dumb stuff the man has put in the trolley. And then they start round about it. That's the way it goes.
So you've been in the business for a very long time, right? For 20 years?
Yeah, 30 years. I'm 55 now. Yeah, 30 years I've been studying people and how they part with money.
So is there any trend, or is it like it never changed since you started this, like the first year to now, 30 years later? Are we still the same? Are we behaving the same? Or are we changing? Do you see any differences now?
Or is it cyclical, as you said at the beginning of the interview, where Olivier obviously wasn't listening?
No, I was listening, but it was shoppers. It was shoppers, not the
Are there any trends? I can't think if I've got evidence for this, but I'm pretty sure it's right in that we now have more ways to understand if we're getting good value. We have smartphones, we have the internet, we have all this stuff that's going on. And so I think that has a reverse effect in that we now pay less attention to the good value we're getting and we make more dumb decisions. So we are more manipulative manipulatable now than probably we were 20 years ago. Because we think we're being helped. It's like the safety devices in a car. They've proven that now we've got so many more safety devices. Actually, accidents are going up because we think the safety device will sort us out, and of course it doesn't.
Holy shit, that's really depressing. So when my wife, boss, scans the barcode of a product and said, I can find this 14 cents cheaper by us marching 150 metres down the mall, only to find that they haven't got it in, and then we've got to come back in. And I'm thinking, we're doing this for that? Is this really worth it?
Or driving 20 miles to save a couple of dimes on a gallon of fuel. It takes you more fuel to get there than what you save when you get there. But yeah, so I actually, and one of the things that's playing into the hands of the brands and the retailers is we have all got, as they keep telling us, less time. We're all rushing more and more, and we've got more and more choice. 10 years ago, we hardly had the internet. Now we can buy anything from the internet. So it's easier for us to get more stuff. And we have yet, I believe, to evolve to come up with successful defense strategies to stopping us getting more stuff.
So let me try something else. I need to have a hope in this fucking program. I need hope.
You want hope?
What about fair trades? Like these products which are
you shouldn't have asked him this. There's people going to be dying because of fair trades. I know the way this conversation's going. Yeah.
I'll answer that.
Yeah.
You put a fair trade sticker on a product.
Good,
sales will probably go up. You talk to the people who bought it what fair trade means. They won't know, but they think it's better than not fair trade. So if I give you a choice of 2 sandwiches for your lunch, and one has got a sticker on saying it supports the Soil Association, which this is true, it happens. When they do that, sales go up. Nobody has a clue what the Soil Association is and what's it doing in a sandwich. So we have too much choice. We're being forced to take mental shortcuts to reduce the choice, and because our brains are incapable of telling what's important information and what's superfluous waffle, we just take it all on board and pick something.
Is that a true story about the Soil Association?
Yeah. It's the Walmart lot again. They put it on a sandwich.
And it doesn't exist? Is it a fake association?
No, it's a sandwich. And because it's the filling. I mean, whether it's some veg that's grown in a...
Or it just tastes like soil. Because it came from Walmart, so it probably tastes like soil or dirt, as our American friends would.
But I could give you more of these. Same on sandwiches. When sandwiches used to always be in a plastic wrapper, a hard plastic see-through thing.
Yeah.
Then they started to put some of them in cardboard, which they used to do 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And people paid more because they thought it was better quality. Now, there's no logic to that.
Yeah. I'm sorry to butt in, but I can remember when Marks and Spencer's did their premium range, they put them in cardboard where you had to tear the cardboard off the front. Yep. And I used to buy those when I lived in the UK. I've just admitted I'm a complete fucking idiot. I'm
sorry. You're human. Yeah, humans are complete fucking idiots. That's the downside.
Oh, jeez.
It's like when they say cracked black pepper on a menu. You're going to think it's going to be better and it's worth more money because it's got cracked black pepper when it just got black peppers the same. My favourite. I'm going to slash my wrists after this interview.
My favourite at the moment. Sorry, Olivia. Can I do one more? Is that we all spend our time. We all spend our time, so we've got no time. We're all rushed off our feet. We haven't got time for this, yet we can all spend 3 or 4 minutes in Starbucks queuing for a latte. How does that work? We have got time. We just don't use it wisely.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I used to go to Starbucks every morning when I used to take my dogs. So I used to drive past it to the dog park, and then one day I looked at my credit card bill, and it was like $90 worth of coffee in a month. and I don't think I've ever been there since. I just thought this is fucking ridiculous. That would last me 3 months in coffee if I made it myself. But
well, yeah, you can buy a jar of coffee in Walmart for cheaper than you buy a cup of it in Starbucks. Where's the logic?
Yeah, well, Starbucks actually. Shut up, Olivier. It's trying to be a co-host. Starbucks coffee is actually worth more than the weight of gold in how much you pay for it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I was told.
Where did you read that?
Well, I made it
You
up
just
in
make
my
it
head.
up, yeah.
Oh, I
No,
can believe it.
I was actually told it by somebody that worked in Starbucks that it was a running joke with them that whether it's true or not, that the money you pay for it, that the amount of coffee that actually goes into it.
Okay.
But anyway, you were going to say something in line.
I would just think, what should be the name of this podcast? And it's almost like we are all fucking idiots, and we will
Yeah.
die because we're
Yeah.
just too dumb, And
Yeah, that's a nice snappy title that I can put in Google Plus. Yeah,
but the thing is, we have like huge issues, like we have climate change and all these kind of things. We have wars and stuff like this, So, if I listen to you, Philip, and sorry, it means that we cannot think rationally. Basically we are just led by our impulses and conditioning and primal needs and whatever. Is it?
I think, yeah, to step back slightly, we are led by our primal needs because we let ourselves be led by our primal needs. We trust the governments, we trust the brands, we trust the retailers, so we don't bother to think. It's, the brain's a lazy thing. The brain's lazy, so if it hasn't got to bother thinking, it'll get out of it. And if you take a fly against a window and keep banging its head against the window and keep doing it, and you leave it there for half an hour till it knocks itself out. We're the same. We just it's just because we don't think. It is, in my opinion, the easiest thing to put right. Just to say, look, believe it or not, people out there might be trying to get one over on you. Just be alert. Engage your brain when you go to the library, when you go shopping, when you get in the car, the automobile, whatever you call it. But we don't. We don't.
Can I put you in touch with my wife? She comes back with she'll go to the mall and she'll come back with like a dress or a top or whatever, and she'll say, "Guess how much money I saved?" And I'll always respond with, "Fuck all. Now tell me how much you've spent." Because at the end of the day, one of the things that the techniques that marketers use, I'm not sure if you use this, I'm guessing, so is like the anchoring technique where so Macy's will have a sale and all the dresses will be on the rack and the ticket will still say the full price of say $400, but then it will say take a further 50% off, so that you've already anchored yourself to the price. Oh, this is worth $400. I'm getting it for $200. Aren't I clever? Haven't I got a bargain? Isn't my husband, Tim, going to be happy? No, is the answer to that one. But that doesn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. But how important is anchoring in what you do? I mean, I would imagine in supermarkets it's less so.
No, very. We it's not widely used, but it's very important. So, we know that in the Western world, you read top to bottom, left to right.
Right.
So if you're reading a special offer price ticket in Macy's that says 50% off, the first number you are anchored to is 50.
Right.
Whether that's 50% off the size of the pack or the money you spend on it. So then next to that 50, $5 seems cheap. So, that's how anchoring works. And so what you find in stores, they don't do this, which they should do more of, is if you're walking down an aisle, that what happened 20 seconds ago is actually anchoring your mind to a certain size of number. So, if you've been shopping champagne at $30 a bottle, then you get to coffee at $5 a jar, then it all seems cheap because you've just come from a $30 section. So, again, it's... they say it takes 30,000 years for our brains to evolve meaningful change. We've only had numbers about 5,000 years. So they're newfangled things. But if you use your new brain at the front to actually work it out, you can do this, but we don't.
I believe, and I also believe that they tried anchoring on people that taught anchoring and they still managed to anchor them. It's that sort of autonomic. It's that
it is.
The brain, even, and again, I think that comes from Dan Ariely. It may not be, but
Philip, I have a request for you. Okay, can you? I don't know. It's very easy to open a YouTube channel. Okay, can you start a new program, a video program, and to say, you fucking idiots, this is why you should think, or whatever, just you'll be doing so good, just awaken the masses, awaken us,
Do you know what, Olivier, and this is not a plug, a few years ago I wrote a book on how to be a smarter shopper. I won't even give the name of it, that way I'm not plugging anything.
No, plug it.
Should
Plug
get
it. Give it.
It was called Shopology, the science of super, and it told you what your brain does in a shop, so what you've got to do to save money. It couldn't be easier. It was written in plain English, not scientific gobbledygook. Nobody buys it because they don't think they need it. It's a bit like PowerPoint. Everybody thinks they're a good PowerPoint presenter, but most of us aren't.
Especially Tim. Tim is a shit PowerPoint presenter.
Yeah, I am a terrible PowerPoint presenter. I've got to say this. Myself and Olivier, because we screwed up the times today because Olivier isn't a fucking idiot, and he'd forgotten the time zones in the US had changed. So I was ready to go at 11 o'clock rather than 12 o'clock, and I didn't even have a beer then. I was thinking, no, it's too early to have a beer. And we talked. I looked at your site and I just thought, you know what? I said, I'm not sure about this. I'm really not comfortable with this guy because I think he's trying to manipulate people, and it's not. This isn't the first time this has happened to me on a podcast, but I got it wrong. I think you've had some really insightful things to say. You definitely more than I'm more than happy for you to plug your book, and we'll put it in the link in the podcast as well, because I think. I think you're doing what you can do. If you've taken going back to Dan Ariely, if you take that information to a government and they basically say, fuck you, it's like, well, okay, well, I'm going to use it to feed my family and feed myself and whatever, and I'm going to do that. And if these people want to be stupid, and if the government doesn't want to do anything to help them, then what do you want me to do? Do you want me to lie down in the middle of the road and to protest or go on hunger strike or whatever? It doesn't work like that. And I think the work that you're doing is really interesting. It's something that fascinates me. Heuristics and cognitive biases really do fascinate me because I see myself being caught by them, and usually afterwards, obviously. And I see other people being caught by them. My wife lives in a net of cognitive biases when she goes shopping. It's just like it's one, and I'm like, no, look how much we can. No, we're not going to save that money on that thing that you're never going to use again, and let's put it. Let's just hang our coat on that cross trainer or whatever, because that's about all it's ever get used for. So I thank you for that, but I'm going to challenge you on one thing. You said something in your video about the 7% being the unspoken word.
Yes.
And I'm going to challenge you on that because that research has been debunked. That was done in 1971.
No. That research has been partly debunked because that statistic is always misquoted. So 7% of human-to-human communication are the words that come out of the mouth. That has been debunked. The actual phrase used by Morabian is 70% of words when appertaining to feelings. How I feel about something are the words coming out of the mouth. So if I'm talking emotionally about something that means something to me emotionally, then it's all about nonverbal communication and body language. If I'm telling you how to get from point A to point B, of course it's more than 7%. But everybody uses that quote, just stops at 7% of human communication is words.
One second, Philip. Just to put that in the context, can you just because Tim, you went straight into the details, but can you just explain what it's all about, this theory, this Morabian theory, about communication?
Do you want me to do it, or are you going to do it, Tim?
No, you're the expert because you
just made
me look like a fucking idiot, which
is
brilliant. That's what we bring. Why we bring experts on. There's no point me here being not made to look like a fucking idiot. So carry on.
He's always an idiot. Don't worry, Philip. No, go on.
No. So the phrase was 7% of human to human communication are the words coming out of our mouth. Everybody got hold of that, and people ran out and debunked the research, saying what a load of rubbish that is. If I'm telling you how to get from point A on a road to point B, it's going to be far more blah blah blah. The actual phrase used by Albert Morabian was 7% of human communication when appertaining to feelings are the words coming out of your mouth. So if I say somebody makes me angry, or somebody makes me happy, or somebody really makes me sad, then I use a lot more facial expression and body language. I'm doing it here now, because then my emotions are going ahead of the voicey stuff, and they're communicating the rest of what I'm trying to get across. We see that so much. We do when we interview people. We do that every day of the week. We actually, film these interviews and analyze facial expression. There was a great series in the States up until about 3 or 4 years ago, Lie to Me, with Tim Roth, where they measured microexpressions.
Yes.
Absolute solid science. That's why you never see a politician's face when he's being asked the question, only when he gives the answer, because his face gives away the truth when he's being asked the question.
Well, wasn't that work by
Ekman?
Trying to think.
Paul Ekman.
Sorry,
Dr.
Ekman.
Paul
Ekman.
Yeah.
Ekman. Yeah. But I thought it was solid science, but I thought it was my understanding of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you already have done seveal times, and I love you for it. No, that's fine. Olivier does it multiple times. No, but I didn't think there was the ability to do it that accurately, that quickly by one person. That Ekman,
there isn't.
Right? Okay, so it's solid science that you can do it, but Ekman used to study hours of films, and he would play it back and slow mo it and so on and so forth to get the micro expressions as to what that meant.
Yes, but what? 25th of a second of micro expression. That's one frame. So if you're watching something on normal TV at 25 frames a second, it's one frame of that is the micro expression. It could be as quick as that.
Right. Okay. So yeah, but I love that. I love Tim Roth. I think he's a fantastic actor, and I thought that was a great series. It's a shame they killed it, and Olivia's got no idea what we're talking about now. So
I know the series. I never watched it, but I know
it's why they killed it, which makes me chuckle. Is that it had a real loyal following, but they couldn't grow the audience because they had to explain the science at the beginning of every episode, and so by the time they got to 3 series, I think it was, they couldn't keep telling this same story about how the science works. And obviously it was exaggerated and everything like it is, but that's why if you're in a conversation with somebody and you don't know why, you just got this hunch that something's not right, because your brain can pick up these micro expressions.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we judge somebody in some, is it 100th of a second or 1/10 of a second? We judge somebody when we first see them. Our brain's much quicker than the speeds we're allowed to drive on the roads. That's what I told the police the other day.
Yeah. I bet that worked.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, you're better saying, have a look at my tits, officer. Yeah, but you couldn't do that. Yeah.
Okay, on this note, Tim, okay, don't go to the porn yet. Okay. So I think we're approaching the hour, Philip, and I just wanted to ask you, is there anything you're working on right now? What's next? Are you working on a new book or any researches? Is there anything coming?
How can you plug yourself in?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to plug myself. Apart from the fact, in the UK, there's 3 TV programs coming out that I'm on in the next 6 weeks. That's only in the UK, I'm afraid. It's on the BBC, and that is consumer programs about how not to be ripped off. There we go. That's good.
Now we're talking.
That's great.
So it's things like, if you've got a big packet of popcorn, you think when you buy it, but when you go and you do the experiment, you can actually tip another bag's contents into that bag easily. So why was the bag that big in the first place? And it's stuff like that. And what's... Can
you tell us about the stale popcorn?
I don't know.
Oh, the stale popcorn, where they gave people a big small bag of fresh popcorn or a big bag of stale popcorn, and the people enjoyed the big bag of stale popcorn, even though they knew it was stale and it wasn't very nice afterwards when they interviewed them exiting the cinema. This is something that I've read on a white paper, like in the last... Sorry, Olivier. For anybody not watching on YouTube now, Olivier has got his head in his hands and he's like... But I thought it was interesting that because people equate more with being better. It's like, well, it was a big bag, so it must have been better.
That's the way we do it.
It tasted like shit, but there was loads of it. There was loads of shit. My mum tells the story once where I came home and said, "What was your dinner?" I'd stayed at a friend's house, and she said, "What was dinner like?" And I said, "The chips were horrible." And chips meaning French fries to our US version. The chips were horrible, and there weren't enough of them, which is kind of like. That's
okay, Philip. Okay. But
can I quickly plug? Absolutely. I do want to plug one thing. I now have a book out it's published in the States by Pearson, and it's called Master Your Brain. Yeah. This is all this stuff about how stupid we are and how to be slightly less stupid in a world of stupidity. So I'm not going to say it's a self-help book that'll make you a genius. It'll just make you less dumb than everybody else.
I've got a question for you, because I went and looked at that book on Amazon. To buy it, but I really love audiobooks. Is that going to come out as an audiobook? You've got to Audiobooks are just taking off big time. You've got to get that out as an audiobook.
Anybody listening to this, email Amazon or Pearson and say you want this in audio, and I'll speak to Pearson because they're one of these big publishers. That means they don't speak to normal people like me.
Okay.
But I will ask the question.
In this book, actually, do you call ourselves the human species as idiots? You know, are you swearing?
I refer to it as that. Our countries, our stores, ourselves, we're acting and being run by petulant teenagers. That is the neocortex, the modern brain. It's a petulant teenager, and it's just running riot with all its hormonal problems when there's a big brain at the back that makes the sensible decisions. That's
okay, so for the next book...
Mine isn't.
Okay, no.
Sorry, I was taking beer there. I was being sarcastic.
For the next book, please use this language. I think you appeal to everyone, you know, like... Go to the level of our level. You are all idiots. That's it.
Well, I do always say to people that I am at such an advantage over so many other humans because I know I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, knowing you're an idiot is a big advantage because you know you're going to fuck up, and it's just like, okay, I fucked up because I'm an idiot. It's human nature.
Very good.
So, absolutely.
Thank you, Philip, for being here. Actually, I'm still depressed. By the way, you just killed my day. You know, I don't know. I'll take another day. That's fine. You know.
I'll mail you a Xanax, mate. I'll fax you a Xanax.
Thank you.
Okay.
But no, it's very useful stuff what you just said, and it makes us think. Actually, I will try to think next time, and then I will just become the idiot that I am always. So, but anyway, thank you.
Anytime. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. It's been good fun.
Really? Well,
good. Thank you, because Olivier just gave the worst outro to any interview that we've ever done. So, Philip, we can all stop recording now.
Okay, I'm stopping.